Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and I think this series of hearings are both important and relevant in light of the fact of our full understanding that security is holistic. Thank you. It's holistic, and it requires a seamless interaction between the S&T of the Department of Homeland Security and the importance of the private sector. I have interest of the private sector's collaboration. I don't have interest in the private sector's dominance, but I do think it's important that S&T becomes more focused, that it is not a hobby shop, that it is intertwined with the framework of our present conditions. And I always say this, I think the Chairman has heard me say this, that terrorism is becoming franchise. We use the term lone wolf. I prefer using individual actor, and we don't know who that actor may be. So it's not a laughing matter or a matter that draws humor, but it requires a sense of balance and a sense of understanding that all the principles are important in the effort of securing the homeland. So, as I indicated, I know from our discussions that the Chairman and myself share the same commitment to securing our nation's transportation system. I understand that today's hearing is the second hearing in this series, and I look forward to receiving testimony from today's witnesses and hope that the third hearing, which will contain government witnesses, will provide insight on the practices of this administration. Today we will hear from members of the business community, and I want to first welcome Mr. Guy Ben-Ari, Deputy Director of the Defense Industrial Initiatives Group at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. It is an important think tank, and I thank you for being here today. At the September hearing, we heard from former Homeland Security officials. They testified about the need for greater cooperation between business and government in developing contract requirements for major research projects. The 9/11 Commission was a very, very thorough review, I believe, in the immediacy of the tragedy, but they produced a readable document, and all of these elements are part of it, part of preparedness, part of putting on our armor, and it is imperative that we continue going to the next generation of technology that gets us more than one step ahead of the terrorists, but many steps ahead of the terrorists. While this is an interesting thought, as you know, the Federal Acquisition Regulations have strict rules about the depth and breadth of permissible discussions between government and industry prior to the announcement of a contracting opportunity. I think the last hearing also made it clear that this administration has given some thought and taken some action on how TSA and S&T can improve their collaboration. We can put in a framework where the security issues are answered and the dialogue can continue. We in Congress need to support and encourage efforts to assure that government is more efficient and genuinely meets the needs of its customers and the American taxpayer. Unfortunately, the current budgetary atmosphere makes a strong and robust research and development agenda unlikely, though I'd like to push the envelope to say that we should not nickel and dime the nation's security. TSA and the Science and Technology Directorate at DHS are tasked with the critical mission of developing, evaluating, and delivering technologies to improve transportation security. Their job is to increase public safety. Given the risk to our aviation and mass transit sectors, DHS must be able to integrate effective security technology into our transportation security programs. However, new solutions, old problems, seldom come without cost. Mr. Chairman, at this point, we must ask, what costs are we willing to pay? We should not be afraid to spend dollars if we save lives. Let me put in an additional note, some of the greatest research comes from startups and small businesses. I don't want to see the intricate and difficult procurement process that is tied to S&T and the Department of Homeland Security keep away those genius ideas that may be the next level of securing the homeland. And I hope the witnesses will comment on the need for that kind of view in order to keep with the next generation of technology. I'll just make one point. Every time there was a terrorist act post 9/11, from the anthrax to the shoe bomber to the underwear bomber, unfortunately these were low tech, but everybody in the United States, I would imagine, had never heard of it. Low tech, never heard of it. What's next? we've got to be ahead of that kind of action. However, and so we should not be afraid to spend dollars. However, because my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have, from the leadership, decided to slash the Department's budget below FY12, I am not hopeful of moving forward. And so I'm hoping to convince a few of my colleagues that research and development under the S&T is extremely important. I hope this testimony will help the Chairman work with me on that idea and that premise, and that we can ensure that we do not stop the collaboration between the private sector, the effectively secured collaboration between the private sector.